of one of the behind the scenes. You know, I've written scripts. They've all read the first episode. But
really good.
Oh, thank you. But one of the things that came up this week that we all read about, one of the subjects was, you know, George Lucas talking about how hard how Hollywood did not want to fund.
It's about to be
Red Tails.
It's about to be on.
Red Tails, because it's all black cast and it's not, you know, there's no white savior character,
no hero,
and you know that touches on us because we are an all black cast.
But wait a minute, why is it all of a sudden an issue? And I still want to work for you, George Lucas, I really do. But why is it all of a sudden an issue? Because he said it. Black people have been trying to make movies for.
Well, that's what I want.
I'm happy that he said it.
I'm happy they said it, but it's not so much an issue.
It's not an issue.
Because he said it, it's now taking the forefront.
Right.
But Danny Glover's been saying it since the '90s, since he's been trying to make the Haitian Revolution a movie. He's been trying to find funding as well, and he hasn't been able to.
But
and nobody even knows you telling me about it was the first time. I didn't even know he wanted to make a movie.
Yeah, I
didn't know until Roger told me.
Really?
But isn't it great? It's coming out in theaters on the 20th of January.
The Red Tail movies is great, yes. And it's directed by a black man, I forgot his name.
Seen the movie, but it's
Anthony something, I forgot.
So George Lucas just produced it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a shame that in this day and age, 2012, we still have this issue of having an all black cast being an issue that it's not going to be sellable, because his thing is not so much that he couldn't find money to produce the film, he couldn't get foreign distribution.
Okay, can I play an advocate though? I don't want to say the person that I'll play an advocate. So could it be because Hollywood has and please bear with me, hasn't taken enough time out to see what we really want to see? Because I think at the end of the day, even though I do think that we do need to be educated about our past, so that we can know who we are, I think, like, let's take The Princess and the Frog, for example. Why wouldn't Disney or anybody, why wouldn't a major conglomerate say, let's see what the fairy tales are in Africa? And see how to make those interesting, like they did with the Lion King.
The Lion King, right?
You know, why do we have to acclimate to what? I don't. It's really hard for me to say this. Like, you know, we have that Bill Cosby archetype, and then we have like the Boys in the Hood archetype, and not everybody falls into those things. You know, most of us fall either in between them or on either side. So why hasn't the powers that be found a way to keep us interested?
The reason
instead of trying to make black movies or have movies that have the same format as a white movie, or the only time they can make something interesting about us is if we're seen 50 years before any of us were even alive.
Right. Or why does it have to be a black movie, a white movie? Why can't it just be a story? Which is what I like what George Lucas says, that he wanted to tell a story about real American heroes. Right. These American heroes happen to be black.
Right.
We've heard about these other heroes in war. These happens to be the Tuskegee Airmen. So why is it still in 2012 we have an issue? And if you're going to talk, you're going to have to come to the camera, baby.
I see what you're saying, but I just feel like why can't we figure out what it is that we really want to see? Why do we have to sit in a
Because back then they didn't believe in black educated.
What do you mean? What do you mean a schoolroom though?
In the Air Force.
I assume that everybody knew about the Tuskegee Airmen, or slavery, or not. I'm assuming I don't want to sound ignorant in that sense
of African American.
Yeah, like the diaspora is so vast, it's so wide. There's so many things that make us who we are. Why does it have to just be about gangbanging or drug dealing or the fact that when we were, or the first black doctor or the first black person? Why can't it just be?
If you read the article,
why can't it be something? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. Why can't it be an Octavia Butler movie?
Right.
That's what I was about to say.
Why can't it be?
That's a book.
That's a book, and it's interesting. And when I read it, I didn't get the feeling that all the characters were black.
Right. But you do know when she came out with that book originally in the 1970s, at the cover of the book they made the characters white. they had to in order to sell it.
I mean, they did that with Richard and
Well,
and Little Richard CDs and
I didn't even
vinyls
hear
and
about
everything.
Octavia Butler until you told me about
Right,
her.
but in the 70s, the characters are all white, and none of the characters in the books
Well, the
are
real
white.
reason why it's not getting funded, it wasn't getting funded at the time, is because back then they didn't believe in young black educated African Americans, because these Tuskegee Airmen, they had knowledge to fly a plane, they had knowledge to hit a target, and then Caucasian people didn't believe in it.
They believed in it because it was there. They
Yeah,
just
it
didn't
was-
want to give us credit.
Exactly. So
Right.
once again, the Tuskegee Airmen is a
It
part of
talks about
history.
that. It's a beautiful film.
Exactly, it's a part of history, and they didn't want to give the credit where the credit is due.
Jannar was there.
So that's why
This last week, right?
the funding wasn't happening.
Well, no, the funding, but George Lucas has been trying to make this movie for 24, 25 years. And he says he's been running into roadblocks, just like Danny Glover has been running into roadblocks and trying in terms of making a story that doesn't have any white heroes as
Because
the
once
center.
again, it's another movie with black history.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
I don't
what
think
it's
that,
all
and I'm
about.
not saying that it's not a good movie. I'm not saying that I'm not going to see it. I'm going to see it.
Uh-huh.
But at the end of the day,
Why can't
why does it have to be me sitting in the schoolroom or me seeing something that I don't know nothing about?
Why does it have to always be historically?
Oh,
Or
why does it always
depressing.
have to be?
No, why does it?
Well, we can say that
Historically accurate.
But listen, our films are not historic. We've done 2 films, Finding Me and Finding Me Truth.
And how hard is it for you to get people to watch that film?
Yes. And none of them are historic, and we want
And that
to do the
goes
same.
back to what I'm
But at the end of
saying.
the
I
day,
don't think that the powers that be, I'm not going to say they're either black or white, but the powers that be are distributors. Why aren't people saying, let me find a way to make people interested in this?
Because once
You've
again,
already done the work.
You're still making history.
Well, see,
It's
this is the
still
thing.
black people making history. If you
Well,
don't
Finding Me is
have,
not about history.
No, we're making history.
we're making history. You're making history.
We're
Start
always
making
making
history.
history. When we gonna start like living not the life, but I'm over this. I'm over
When is acceptable to America? So,
But it's not even-
No,
But that's
I
the
think
thing.
that it is acceptable.
But it's
I
not
think
even what George Lucas is saying. It's not even about America. Again, he's trying to get world distribution, not even American distribution. He has to find. The world is saying that a movie that doesn't have any white heroes is not going to sell.
But you saying
That's sad.
You think-
Not just not America, the rest of the world. But the reason we're talking about this too is because our road to making Finding Me into a series is hard. Not that we want to harp on how hard it is, but it's trying to get people to see that our stories are relevant, our stories are entertaining. And because it's an all-black cast, it falls on certain deaf ears.
It's
It's
not
a
an all-black
shame.
cast.
Well, it's not an all-black cast, but it's a majority black cast.
Right.
It's a shame in 2012. Now, I know there was a comment, and I'm going to say the comment, I probably shouldn't have, but I actually don't care. But one of the comments I read for Finding Me Truth, someone wrote down, it's funny how the cast of Finding Me Truth, all the black actors are all beautiful.
Oh,
But
really?
Yeah. But the 2 white characters you have on there are scaby looking.
That was horrible.
And
Who's
that-
the other white character?
Well, I'm assuming they're referring to Jake and Beatrice, and neither one of them are scaly
Beatrice
looking.
is cute.
Neither one of them are scaly looking, and I didn't get what that meant. But my thing was, okay, so maybe you got a little glimpse of what it's like for us for the longest time to have watched all of these shows and movies of not seeing us, but being able to watch these stories and still have to relate to it, even though I don't always necessarily relate to all the things that I see on TV.
Well, you know what's interesting? You know that whole shit that whatever says, that whole series of YouTube videos?
I love that. It's
There's the
great.
one that shit that
Shit
white
that-
girls say to black girls.
Yeah.
And she goes, why don't they have white entertainment television? And like the funny part about that is okay, we have BET, which is black entertainment television, but the rest of the networks are white.
Right, I would have mentioned
entertainment
that with
television.
ABC, NBC, CBS.
Exactly. And I think that the majority feels that why does it have to be all black? Everything else is all white. Why can't we have some things that are all black? And I think in an ideal world, when you do have a movie in Jersey City or New York, maybe it is more realistic to have. No, I feel like groups are pretty segregated. I don't think people usually.
Because when we had, remember UPN?
That was
It was
mostly
kind of
black.
like a
That was
yeah. What was
that
the
was-
allegory for UPN? You People Network.
So no, but what I was
great.
gonna
But
say
we
is
don't
I
have
think
that
it's
anymore.
interesting that like you know you don't have a show like you know people will say like well Friends, how can you live in New York and have all white friends? But when I hang out with my friends, I do hang out with my friends who are not just black or
Yeah.
Spanish or who are white. I don't usually mix them though. It's
Right.
usually all my black friends together.
Right.
So maybe that is.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying those things aren't real. But when you have 10 seasons of it and you don't see one black person on
Aisha
there,
Tyler.
okay, they brought
the
her
fact-
on there.
the fact that I
They
can
brought-
name one-
Right, they brought her on there after the show was under attack of not having
Just
any black-
one.
Yeah.
The fact that I.
Friends.
Friends.
But wasn't that just why Pepsi got $3 million for not having black workers?
What?
Pepsi.
Yeah, they just got sued.
Man, figure this part out.
$3
What?
something million for not having any African Americans working in there. They were screening everybody. Say like you got locked. Say like you got locked up. You got a ticket. They were it was screening you.
And they got paid for that?
No, they didn't. You didn't get it. It was
No,
discrimination.
you said they. Who got 1 point? Oh, they got sued for
They
1
got
point.
sued for 3 points.
Pepsi. 2012. Why are we even still talking about something like this? It's a shame.
But it's really like
But
even
that-
even
that
in the
just
entertainment industry in itself.
I'm just
There's
gonna step
not-
off camera for a second. Go ahead.
Even in the entertainment industry in itself, there's not a lot of black casting directors. There's not a lot of black
Right.
directors. There's not a lot of
How many do you think you see on average? I don't see a lot of black casting directors.
I saw one. It's when
Casting
I
directors?
Yeah, when it was a casting director, I only saw one, and that was for Spike Lee's
Oh,
for Spike Lee's thing.
oh, I think maybe. I've seen two.
that's good to
I've
hear.
seen two.
But
It was an experience.
But isn't it funny how you grew up with white girls say to black girls? It might be funny how that made headlines. That
What?
was
No, it's just a video
but
on YouTube.
No, it made the radio. It was on the radio and everything. What white girls say to black girls. But if you
I've
really
never seen
get
that
into
one.
it, there's another episode where black girls say to white girls.
I did see that.
Why didn't that make such big controversy?
What radio station
It was a
that
black
It was a
girl. that actually did
105.1.
it. It was a black girl that made that series. That actual
What, black?
video.
Yeah.
But it was
white girls say to black girls.
But it was a black man with a wig on who said what black girls say to white girls.
Baby, can you see if I'm blocking Ray?
No, I'm right here.
No, I just want to make sure that I can't. Am I blocking Ray?
No.
Okay.
Nah,
Okay. All right.
I'm an actor. I know when my camera's on me. I know.
You always gotta know where your sight line is. Don't worry.
sideline is. Don't worry about it.
You worried about Ray.
You worried about Ray.
You don't went like this.
Excuse you, Ron.
So the question is, well, why when Caucasian people headlines certain things, it get
News. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, that's the same thing with, again, George Lucas having to say this, although Danny Glover has been saying this for so long. And it's sad that 2012 that we're still going through the same thing. And then when it's addressed on, say, The View, it's kind of skated on, like a real quick mention of it, but we don't want to talk about it. And I just think it's really sad that in 2012 we still have the same issue that because it's an all-black cast, or that it's not going to get funded. I feel bad for we're all black cast. What about the Latinos, the Asians? I mean, they got it even worse.
Yeah.
No, there's a Spanish HBO and Showtime, ain't it?
yeah. And
Oh, there is a Latino.
And they got Univision, and Telemundo.
Mundos.
You're right.
They're one of the fastest growing. Don't feel too bad.
You're right.
You go to Taco Bell.
But you gotta ask yourself, the people that's funding the film, are they here
Well,
illegally?
you might want to edit
Well,
that.
I've
Do you think that our stories are interesting?
You're asking me,
I'm just asking the question.
Do you think our stories are
Yeah.
interesting? Yes. I think our stories are absolutely
Does
interesting.
everybody else think?
Do you think that everyone else? And this
Yeah.
is what bothers me. Like, you're worried about the movie industry. I think it goes back to media in general. Like, you watch a television show for any commercial for anything that has to deal with black people, and you're just now starting to see things where it's not like rap music. I like to drink grape soda.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't ever rap when I'm.
But then you have white people now rapping on these commercials as well.
They
You're
are.
right, and I
They
hate.
But can I ask you a question?
Oh,
Can I ask you a question, Roger?
Yes.
Because the movie is not SGL, and it doesn't have that many sex scenes.
What movie? Red Tails?
No, Finding Me.
Finding the Truth.
It just have like a brief, run through. But do you think if it had more of a sex scene, you think you would get more publicity?
I think you'd get the wrong type. I think
Yeah.
you'd get a
Exactly.
bunch of people who just want to objectify black men.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is what happened to us when we move, or what happens to us when we go to certain markets.
Right.
Well, do they all got their shirts off?
Right. The fact that we say that Finding Me is not a LGBT story, it's a story about these characters. One of the main characters happened to be, homosexual. Another one of the main characters is bisexual, and another one of the main characters is heterosexual. That's always been my position about Finding Me. But if people always feel like, I don't know if people feel like it's hard, but because they don't see more white faces, I feel like they feel like it's harder to market it, and that's really sad to this day when we're the consumers.
But you know what? I
But
feel
then-
like also I've had conversations with you, and I'm gonna put you on blast.
Go ahead.
Where you've said, "Well, maybe I should integrate the cast," and I feel like, you know what? Why would you do that? Why?
No. When I say integrate, when I say add mixes, it's because
And not to
they're-
even say it's a bad thing,
Right.
But to do it just because you want to get people to watch your film.
No, that's not why I want to do it. That's never why. That was never a motivation of why I want to do it. It's because there's people that come into my life. They are friends of. I have white friends. I know I sound like one of those
Do you?
people. I know I sound like I've got white friends.
I got white friends. I got a couple.
I feel that that's really sad. I know. That's not the way it sounds, but But I think the way of the East Coast, and like you said, we sometimes hang out in groups, or sometimes we mix. That's just the way it is, especially in the Northeast. But I want to show a real depiction of these friends, and in truth, you saw Jay's friend, who happens to be white, Neil, played by Jake, and that was a real friendship, I think. And I put that in there purposely because I think there are a lot of relationships like that. You know what I mean?
Their friendship.
Yeah, their friendships
Yeah,
are
yeah.
real. Absolutely. So, but the majority of the film is a black cast.
Right.
But I want to
Let me
ask you
also-
another question. I'm gonna cut you off. If you took that same message you did, but put it in like another, like a Chinese perspective, or Caucasian perspective, or even a Caribbean perspective, in the same relationship that had black characters play it, would you think the outcome would be different?
Have black
Well,
characters.
the only perspective he could
Yeah.
put it in is a Caribbean or American.
But I'm saying, what if you took the story from a Caucasian guy on how they live that circle of life with
and
their
put it
friends,
into black
and
actors.
put it into black actors? Because
It would-
now the Caucasians can relate because that's something they're.
But what I'm saying is, our story is no different from what white people, Asian people go through. It just happens to have black faces.
Black faces,
Mhm.
right.
That's the only difference.
It's because it's the universal truth,
Right.
And the title is the universal truth.
Right.
Mhm.
Finding Me. We're all
That's
trying
the
to.
title. University.
no.
No,
But-
the title Finding Me
I know you
is.
said that there was
But
some
everybody,
other
but
true.
everybody's story is different.
Everybody's story.
So what if you took that story coming from their point of view and had the black?
How was he going to
actors
do that? He ain't white.
Talk to it, huh?
How was he going to do it from any perspective but his own? He's not white.
He can sit down and talk to somebody.
Well, yeah,
that's fine.
Color Purple
And
was
get-
directed by Steven Spielberg.
The story was written by Alice Walker.
Right, but directed by Steven Spielberg.
He took her words and her feelings.
Right, and she didn't like it that much either, I heard.
Oh,
But so why?
That's what I heard.
boom.
What would you be comfortable?
That version. That
I don't need to
Sealy's
understand.
relationship with,
I don't need to
No, because it was more. It was a bigger relationship.
yeah, it was more of a
With
lesbian.
Suge Avery.
But would you ever consider doing that? No. Yeah. Taking
Well, I
another-
shouldn't say that because Memoirs of a Gay Show was written by a white man.
That's
It's
a
a
great movie.
fantastic.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
I think any story can be. I think every story. There's no original story. I remember Jannard said this. There's nothing original anymore, anyway. So all of these stories that we all are telling are. There's
the
nothing
same
original about. We're telling the same stories, but there's different takes on it.
Right.
Where there are different takes. Nerds. There's different takes on how a story's being told. Different flavors. So the way we tell our story is through the way we tell our own stories, but it's still a very universal theme of finding oneself and finding one's truth. So it's sad that in 2012 that a movie studio or distributors are not thinking that our story will sell simply because there are no white heroes in it.
No, it doesn't.